All right, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Trans. I'm your host, Gabriel, and usually we have Leo with us or Kai, but unfortunately, I kind of snuck away, and they're not available today. Kai is off cheerleading tonight, and Leo is doing homework. So, we've been, this is, like I said, I probably didn't say this, oops. I've recorded this like 4 times. It's insane. The dogs are like barking in the middle of it, or they're making loud noises. The first one, I don't know what the mic issue was, but I recorded it for 45 minutes and you heard absolutely nothing, and I didn't find out until the end. So I've learned mic checks are really, really important, so we have to do mic checks now all the time. We are still waiting for all the parts of our major mics, our XLR mics. They're set up, they're beautiful. The power supply arrived and it was wrong. Don't ask me the ins and outs, and I guess that's just what happens when you don't inspect things. It's what I like about stores and being able to look at something and know that it's going to work versus having to send away for it and hope that it gets here and that it works and that it's right. So, anyway, you might hear me sniffling tonight. Tonight, I had to help out with the guinea pigs downstairs, and I am horribly allergic to guinea pigs. And so I'm a little congested, but that's okay. So today we are talking about gender dysphoria. Not only what gender dysphoria is and how important it is for the diagnoses here in the United States, because, see, there I go sniffling, because it is, but also where it originated, who was the first transgender to come out and be kind of, I guess, set the precedence for the rest of us. And I was kind of surprised. I didn't realize that gender dysphoria was as old as it was. Being that I'm a kid of the 70s. Granted, the late 70s, all right? For those of you who are listening to like, oh my god, you're so old. Yes, I'm old. I get it. I am an old man. I am happily an old man. My blondes and my grays blend in perfectly. However, see, there's that sniffle again. Holy buckets, maybe I should go blow my nose. I think that's what I'm going to go do. That would make more sense, wouldn't it? Maybe I should consider taking an allergy pill instead. That might be even better. Alright, so anyway, like I said, we're going to use some websites like we normally do. Kind of go through what gender dysphoria is, talk about gender dysphoria, the medical diagnosis, the medical condition, how it's identified here in the United States, how it's identified in other countries, because not all our listeners are from the United States. And I was really surprised to find out that even though gender dysphoria is a clinical definition, there are, what do I want to say, how we look at it here in the United States versus how the UK looks at it, or Sweden or Germany, they're very different. And additionally to that, those are countries that support transgender rights and support, the classification as gender dysphoria as a mental illness. There are countries that don't. That's really, really sad. It's got to be hard. I know that, Russia, and this tends to be countries that are very culturally defined, that do not like to identify gender dysphoria as a mental condition, and then transgender, of course, being a thing. But it tends to be countries, again, Russia, South Korea. We probably don't know about North Korea, but I'm going to assume that they're probably in the same boat. Japan, China, these are countries that, while they're not against it, the vast majority of their population definitely does not seem to favor it. Again, these are highly traditionally based cultures. Here in the United States, our traditions vary based on your culture. It's the beauty of the melting pot. So, some cultures are very against it, some cultures are not. Some cultures are very open to it. And, if you go back in history, and again, I apologize because I'm a teacher, so you're going to have to hear a little history. But there are cultures of indigenous people here in the United States, well, before it was the United States, but here in North America, that have identified people of what they refer to as two spirits or two souls. They identified both male and or female, or they were born female but carried more male traits, and vice versa. And these people were not only accepted in their cultures, but were revered because they were special. And it's one of those millions of zillions of things that throughout history, has changed it's kind of in the same category as, high heels. High heels weren't originally designed for women. They were originally meant for men. Wigs weren't a woman thing. They were an everybody thing in Europe in the, 1100s and 1200s because of, diseases that cause baldness. And I'm not going to go into which diseases because, parents, if you want to explain that to your child, you can. I'm not going to go there. If you don't know this stuff, though, feel free to, go ahead and look it up. I'm working on my master's in world history, and these are just topics that I just happen to know off the top of my head. So, but like I said, gender dysphoria, the first case of gender dysphoria here in the United States, okay, was diagnosed in a young woman named Christine Jurgensen. She was born in 1926. So this is pre-Depression in New York City. And she died in San Clemente, California. She was an actress. She was a nightclub singer, an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous woman. But Christina Jurgensen was born a man. Now, the beauty of being a pioneer, as far as, being transgender and coming out as transgender, there's no record of Christine Jurgensen's dead name. We know nothing of it. I've looked on multiple websites. I have tried to hunt down, history and what have you, and there's just absolutely no proof. It literally is. I don't want to say like wiped out because I'm sure if somebody tried hard enough, they could find it. But at a quick glance to do some research, there's no name. It's really, really phenomenal. So, with Christine Jurgensen kind of setting the path here, gender dysphoria was actually a proposed diagnosis in the 70s. 73 is when it actually came out, or was actually, like I said, proposed. And I kind of go into, it looks like we're going into Spanish, on a Spanish website here. And let me see if I'll pull it up for you without messing it up horribly. Yeah, I'm not even going to attempt that because I'm going to mess it up. I know it's Spanish. On my limited Spanish, I can tell it's a medicine university, but that's about it. And I do apologize. It's kind of funny because it's a Spanish university, but everything's written in English. Oh, it is. It's Mexico. Okay, so the psychiatric department of, of the Dr. Jose Gonzalez University Hospital of Go to school, people. Learn how to spell words. Learn how to say words. Autonomous. Okay. University of Mexico. Wow, I butchered that badly. I apologize, Dr. Gonzalez. It was not my intention to butcher this. So, but it literally just... So, when a person writes a report or in a medical journal or something like that, the summary is called an abstract. And gender dysphoria, or gender identity disorder, or transsexualism, which is what it was called in the 70s, it's a psychiatric condition that requires care, and multiple health professionals, endocrinologists, surgeons, psychiatrists are just some of the medical professionals needed to address these situations. In the following article, it is a summary of that transsexuality means, its history and treatment, as more and more people request services for this therapeutic approach. Okay, so again, let me reiterate, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a healthcare specialist. I'm not a medical professional. I'm a teacher. I'm a transgender teacher learning this stuff as I go. My limited knowledge of medical, data consists of driving an ambulance for our local fire company, and a sister who's a nurse, and a mom who's a nurse, and my own personal experiences. That as far as my medical information goes. So please, if you take what I say, take it and do your own research. This is why we give you the websites. Take it and build off of it. Do your own information. Write down some questions. Go to your medical professional, whether it's your doctor, your primary, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and ask. If you have questions upon which, if you have more questions than answers at the end of a podcast, I truly apologize. And at the same point, I'm thrilled that you do, because that means you listened and I got in your head and you were thinking. And that's what we want. I don't want to just be the end all, be the end all, know all. That's it. Hey, I heard it on, Let's Talk Trans. Gabriel said this, so it must be true. No. Take me like the media, if you want. I'm going to give you as much information as I can with non-bias. I can't even say that because I have some bias. As much neutral as I possibly can. And go with it. Discover, read, learn, ask. If you don't know, if you don't ask, you'll never know. So, I'm a huge fan of asking. There's I used to say there's no such thing as a dumb question. The only dumb question is the question not asked. How's that? All right, so we know that transgender, we know that being transgender is a discomfort for most of us. I'm sorry, let me correct myself there. It's not being transgender. Being transgender is phenomenal. Gender dysphoria is a discomfort. And the reason why it's discomfort, it's because, according to psychiatry.org, it's the clinical significant distress or impairment related to a strong desire to be the opposite gender, or another gender, or no gender. All right, so, and this generally culminates in changing primary and or secondary sex characteristics. Primary being, your voice, your facial hair, your haircut, and secondary obviously being, breasts, and then genitalia. Not everybody goes all that route. Not everybody takes testosterone. Please don't think that you absolutely must do. There's no. Transgender is not a box. Okay, it's not like you have to do something in order to be classified as transgender. It's not like you don't have to do something to be classified as transgender. If you decide that you are not happy in your body, that your mind, says that, hey, I am not the person I see in the mirror. I am not the gender that is physically depicted in the mirror. That makes you transgender. If you decide that the person in the mirror is horrendous, one, and I've heard this, and I would love to think that these are extreme cases, but I don't honestly know because I've heard it a lot. But there are so many transgender people that I don't know in the grand spectrum if I've heard it a lot, or if I just, in the circles that I work in, I've heard it a lot. I hear people talking about their body and how disgusting they are, how horrific or how ugly or grotesque or how unhappy their body image makes them. And this is by definition, gender dysphoria. If you're not happy with your body because you want it to be another way, you want it to be the opposite gender, that does not mean, hey, I'm fat, I'm transgender. No. If you say, hey, I have boobs and I don't like them, that's transgender. If you say my elephant trunk hanging down between my legs is grotesque and it doesn't fit my personality, that's transgender. Okay? If you say, hey, look, my boobs are too big, that's not transgender, that's a breast reduction, darling. Or vice versa, they're not big enough. Okay? So don't think that, if you look in the mirror and you just, it's an epiphany. And for parents who are listening, take into consideration that teenagers, they all hate their bodies. It doesn't matter whether they're transgender, cisgender, agender, non-binary, I can't tell you how many times my teenagers look in the mirror and go, ugh. Even my son, ugh, why am I built like a twig? You know what? Shut up. I'd love to be built like a twig. Or my daughter, oh my God, I have too many curves. My butt's so big. Sweetheart, boys like your butt big. Shut up. You know what I mean? I mean, like, nobody in this world is happy with themselves. And part of that has to do with the media and the magazines and everybody trying to compare themselves to other people. And we do it in the transgender world, too. I saw that on a Facebook post. Somebody was comparing themselves to another transgender. And we compare ourselves to people who are 2-3 years in, 6 months in. I'm 12 weeks in. Like, what am I going to compare myself to? There really shouldn't be too many noticeable changes. Yeah, my voice cracks every once in a while. Yeah, I've got some, extra little long gray hairs on my lip. That's about the extent of it for right now. I'm not even worried. All right, but that's me. I'm a patient individual. I'm a way, and I don't want to say I'm like a way more confident individual. I'm more confident than I was.